So I just finished watching a visual acoustic. It's a great film, Eric. I really enjoyed it. So in the film, there are a couple of sequences I want to ask you. There's one particular sequence where you have Julius in I think case study 22 walk through that. Walk through it, and you shoot the footage. Can you tell me a bit about the genesis for that scene, and how is it like executing that scene?
Sure. So in the case study house number 22 scene, that for me is kind of it's the apex of the first act. And what I wanted is I wanted to get this portrait of Julius overlooking Los Angeles, because I always said that Julius and Los Angeles were siblings, that they really grew up together. And so there's that was shot by Dante Spinotti, and there's those images of him looking through the glass at the city, and the city kind of reflecting back at him. So we had that. That was a one-day shoot with Dante and his crew. And then what we did was the animation company, Trollback and Company, at the end of it, I wanted that live-action footage to seamlessly slide into the photograph, which was one of Julius's photographs. It's a color photograph of case study house number 22.
In the beginning, the title sequence, there's a story behind it too, right?
Right. So the opening title sequence is basically we recreated the graphically we recreated the ceiling of the Guggenheim Museum. And so what it is, it's called, the name of the sequence is called A Greater Awareness. And Julius is talking about how architecture affects the lives of all of us, all the way through the entire life cycle. So the first part of that sequence was just these geometric shapes unfolding, and then, I mean, again, that was based off of the ceiling of the Guggenheim. And then the second part of that sequence is you go through the circle, and then you go on this ride through Julius's photographs, which kind of illustrate the life, a life cycle, and the different places that one might find themselves: a house, a bank, a movie theater, and so on. Yeah, and a lot of these houses, at least when we were shooting, a lot of some of the key houses many of them are still owned by the original owners. So the Stalls, as you saw in the film, they built that house and they still own it, which I think is beautiful, and they love their house.
Right, and in particular, I mean, one of the scenes you talked to an owner who actually went through the trouble of restoring the house to its original condition, almost.
Yeah, and that's another thing, is that a lot of, with this greater awareness and value placed on, and not just a monetary value, the real estate market in Los Angeles was quite inflated at the time we were making the movie, but people also, from a cultural value and historical value, we're saving a lot of these houses, and a lot of care and attention has gone into restoring them to the place where they very much deserve to be restored too.
When Julius actually passed away, how did you feel? Like
Yeah, it was I was sad, of course, that he passed away, and I didn't realize how much he had become a part of my life. Like, I realized that more and more and more the further I get away from his passing. And the things that I noticed right at the beginning after he passed away is there would be times, I live in Austin, Texas now, and we get these really heavy white clouds that'll come floating in, and I had this urge to call Julius, because I used to always call him and say, "Hey Julius, the bluebonnets are here now," and tell him, he goes, "Oh, tell me about them," or, "Hey Julius, the stones and the rocks here are just incredible," and he'd like me to talk about nature. So that's really where I started to notice it first. And now there's all these other things that are happening in my life. I'm working on a new film right now which deals about sustainability, and so many of the things that I would talk to Julius about, I'm seeing them in my life, and I want to kind of call him and talk with him about it, because he was just he was one of my closest friends.